Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michele Blanshard. I'm the General Manager here at Genie Solutions, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. Thank you for joining us. This is for general surgeons and practice staff. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet virtually today. For me, here in Brisbane, that's the Turrbal people and the Yuggera people, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So you won't be hearing from just me all today. You'll also be hearing from Neve Tobin. So Neve is our Director of Product Strategy and Design, and Neve will be talking you through the roadmaps for both Genie and for Gentu. And while we're covering both of the products well, firstly, there's users of both products here, but we also know that there's a lot of interest from those using Genie in Gentu. So I hope it's beneficial for you to see the progress and the functionality in Gentu if you are a Genie user. And then finally, we'll be hearing from Sean Nolan, and Sean has some tips and tricks for you on how to get hopefully a little bit more out of your use of either Genie or Gentu. Down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a bubble there that says Q&A. Please feel free to type questions throughout the webinar, and those that we can answer immediately between either Neve, Sean or myself, we'll answer those live back into the chat. But if we've got any questions at the end or a question posed in there is not quite clear to us, we'll ask that live at the end. And I also do ask that you, when the webinar finishes, that you just stay on for about a minute and answer a little survey at the end, because that'll really help us ensure that the content that we're delivering to you is of value, because your feedback is really important. So I'll start by also saying a thank you to all of you for your loyalty to us as your PMS software provider. Through the last 2 years in particular, where we've had a lot of compliance work that we've had to get through. Some of that work is of our own doing in the form of 64-bit upgrades for Mac users. We're really pleased to have finally finished that huge piece of work at the end of last calendar year. But then also the government-related initiatives that we were required to do in the form of Medicare Web Services, active ingredient prescribing, MyHR, and most recently e-prescribing for both Genie and Gentu. So we're really pleased that those all of that work is now done, and now we can turn our focus to working on things that you, our customers, have been asking for. And we do collect all of the feedback, and you'll hear a little bit from Neve on that, what that process is and how we use your feedback to inform our roadmap prioritization. You should have received an email from us or from me about a month or so ago around our change in brand. And I'll just quickly talk you through what that really means. So Genie Solutions is still its own standalone organisation, but within a broader healthcare technology company. So this is not a change of ownership, it's just a consolidation of overarching brand name. So we were acquired by a private equity group 18 months ago now, but they own a number of health technology businesses, and we've just come together as Magentus. And so we've got presence in Australia and the UK, and what being part of a bigger health technology company will mean for us and for you ultimately as our customers and our end users, that we should really be able to find some more synergies across the different areas of clinical systems in pathology and radiology in particular, and really endeavour to find ways to continue to provide workflow improvements and ultimately productivity gains for you in your practice. So now I'm going to hand over to Neve, and as I said, Neve will talk you through both Genie and Gentu roadmaps.
Great, thank you, Michele. Hi, everyone. My name is Niamh Tobin, and I'm the Director of Product Strategy and Design at Genie, as Michelle mentioned. Today, I want to share with you what is happening on our roadmap. But before I do that, I did want to just spend a minute talking to you about our platform vision, which is really how we see ourselves helping you, the medical professionals, deliver better health outcomes in a longer term view, so over the next 3 to 5 years. Our practice management systems vision is really centered around this technology platform that you see in the middle of the cloud. This technology platform is really important because it's actually what's going to enable us to provide ongoing product innovations to your practice into the future. Some of these innovations we'll continue to develop ourselves, but some of them will be with integrations with third-party products. So these innovations are going to be focused around 3 key objectives. The first one is improving the patient experience by providing new tools to automate and modernize the touch points that you have with patients today. The second one is looking at what we can do to connect up what is a very disconnected ecosystem today and ensure that the data that you need to make decisions at the point of care is readily available. And the third area is thinking about data-driven insights. So with a lot of our practices now either on or connected to the cloud, we want to understand how we can bring these insights, these data-driven insights into your workflow. So this might mean clinical decision support, workflow assistance, or insights on how you can improve your practice's performance. We have been working on this vision for a number of years now, and we are making good progress. Patient forms, patient payments, and specialist bookings have all been products that have focused on automating the patient journey. And voice and insights products that we released just in the last year have been products that have been developed with our first set of partners using this technology platform. But really, all of these objectives only become a reality alongside Genie and Gentu, which are on the left and the right-hand side, which are our core practice management systems. Genie, as you know, is our desktop product, and Gentu is our cloud product. So the updates I'm going to provide today are really, primarily centered around how we're going to improve the core experience within those products, but also then what you can expect to see from integrated third parties over the coming months. I'm going to start with Gentu, our cloud practice management system, and then I'll follow with Genie, the desktop product. So for many Genie customers on the call today, as Michelle mentioned, we did want to take the opportunity to share with you an update on Gentu and also share the Gentu roadmap because we know that about 50% of you are actually interested in moving to the cloud. We really do understand the challenges and costs that are associated with running a system locally, and we appreciate that Gentu will give you the flexible access that you need to run your busy practice. And that's why we're really delighted to say that we are going to be doubling down on Gentu and getting Gentu ready for you guys to migrate when you're ready. What this means is that we have doubled the number of teams that are working on the core Gentu experience today. So that's workflows around booking appointments, letter writing, billing for services, and so on. In addition to that, though, we also have a team that is working on our mobile app. So the mobile app is currently used by several hundred Gentu practices through voice, but we want it to be available to all Gentu practices. We also now have a dedicated team that is working on the process of moving your data from Genie to Gentu, and we're accelerating progress on the Genie Solutions Marketplace. So this is where you'll be able to connect third-party products like transcriptions, booking tools, or patient engagement tools into Gentu as well. And so today, I'm really excited to share a general update on how Gentu is going, but also share what the roadmap looks like for the coming months for both Gentu and Genie. The great news is that with all of your support, Gentu is doing really well. As we look at the number of specialist practices that have moved to the cloud, we know that about 40% of practices have already made the shift across. And of those that have moved, 40% of those are on Gentu. So that means that Gentu is the fastest growing cloud practice management system in Australia, and currently has over 1,500 practices using it. This means that Gentu practices currently support the care of more than 10 million patients and have provided 28 million appointments and 2.7 billion in healthcare services over the last 5 or 6 years. What we do see is that the majority of Gentu practices today are single practitioner practices, which is this chart over on the right-hand side. There is a diverse group of specialties using Gentu, with almost every specialty represented. And in fact, if we actually look at Genie and Gentu, general surgery as a whole across Genie Solutions, what we see is that about 35% of Genie Solutions practices are now, Genie Solutions general surgery practices are now using Gentu. A question that we do often get asked, though, is Gentu suitable for my practice, and when is the right time for my practice to consider a move from Genie to Gentu? So if we look at the practices that have already made the move, we see again that a broad range of specialties, orthopedics, obstetrics, general surgery, and psychiatry do account for large groups, but most specialties are actually represented. 18 months ago, when we looked at the breakdown of the size of practices that were moving from Genie to Gentu, it was more similar to the first slide, where it was primarily single practitioner practices. But if we see now, actually quite a number of 2 to 3 practitioner Genie practices have made the move across successfully, and practices that have been in business for 10 years or more are also making that transition. We therefore find that the best way to answer your question around whether Gentu is right for you is less about your specialty, your practice size, or how long you've been in business, and more about the depth and the breadth of functionality that you use day to day within the Genie product. And for that reason, we are going to be running a number of group demonstrations, which will give people the opportunity to learn more about the functionality that's in Gentu today, and have a conversation with one of our team about when the right time for your practice to move might be. But to get ready for Genie customers to migrate and to improve the experience for the existing Gentu customers, we really have been listening to the feedback that you've provided, as Michele mentioned. Over the years, we've built a rigorous voice of customer program, which is really centered around every touch point that you have with our team. So this could be support calls that you make, emails that we receive, or it could be conversations that you have at us, or conferences, or when our trainers come on site. But we've actually captured more than 2,500 pieces of feedback, and we regularly review this feedback to understand what is most important for you. If you're watching this and think, I do have feedback that I haven't shared recently, well, then there is a new opportunity to share your feedback. Just a couple of weeks ago, we launched our customer survey. It's run by an organization called Gentu. You should have received an email letting you know that the survey was coming. And then you also should have received an invite to the survey itself. If you haven't and you would like to have access to that survey, please reach out and we'll arrange for that to be sent. But we would love to hear from you. This really the survey is intended to understand what's your experience using Genie and Gentu today, and where would you like us to invest time and energy in improving that experience moving forward. But if we look at the feedback that we have received so far for Gentu specifically, what we see is that areas such as outgoing correspondence, templating across SMS, invoicing, and quotes are key areas for improvements in Gentu, as well as improving a number of the workflows associated with the task of consulting with patients. If we look at the Gentu roadmap, you will see how this feedback has informed our roadmap over the last number of months and into the future. So more recently, we worked on MIMS initially, switch over to MIMS as our medicines database provider. And then we also worked on e-prescribing. We've also recently released voice as part of our mobile app. And right now the teams are working on turning their attention to improvements in both SMS and outgoing correspondence. So in May, we released e-prescribing in Gentu with MIMS as our medicines database provider, and ERX was our partner for script exchange. This certainly took us longer to complete than we would have liked. So we really appreciate and thank you for the time that you've waited, or the patience that you showed in waiting for this piece of functionality to be made available. There are a number of steps that you need to complete to be able to access e-prescribing within Gentu. Most of these are actually outside of Gentu, so it's registration with PRODA or activating with MIMS or ERX. These are all documented though on our knowledge base. And so if you have been waiting for e-prescribing, please jump on there and take a look and follow those steps so that you can get on board and get activated today. Another recent feature release was Voice, as I mentioned. This is a really exciting new product available via the mobile app. It's powered by Nuance voice-to-text technology. And really, it's about supporting practitioners to spend less time on clinical documentation. We now have hundreds of practices using this feature, and we can see improvements, massive improvements in the time that it's taking for practitioners to document their consultations, but also practitioners documenting that much closer to the time of the patient's appointment. And as a result, that communication actually getting sent out from the practice back to the referring doctor and care team much earlier. We're continuing to improve this product, and some of the recent improvements that we've made there have really been understanding or identifying who you've dictated for, and also enabling voice commands, so you can populate patient's date of birth or something like that automatically into the voice dictation as you go. Right now, as I mentioned, the team are working in the SMS and outgoing correspondence area. Recently for SMS, we just released the ability to be able to create multiple SMS templates, and also improved the capability for sending ad hoc SMS messages. So this was delivered in the form of filters within the patient list, where you can filter patients for a specific day, or you can identify patients that perhaps don't have a valid referral and communicate with those patients en masse. We're going to continue to improve this experience within Gentu over the coming months. This includes being able to set a reminder by appointment type, by doctor, or by location, but then also expanding the workflows within Gentu that you're able to use SMS for communication with patients. This is going to start off with booking confirmations, but then it will extend into pre and post appointment actions as well. Improving the letter writer experience is the key priority for us right at the moment. We have 3 of the 4 Gentu development teams that work on that core experience working in this space at the moment. We needed to upgrade the version of the letter writer that we used, and that has been released just in the last couple of weeks. We're also going to be making changes though to the letter templates, allowing you to have full page letterheads or letterheads where they go down the left-hand side of the page, and then also increasing the number of letter references and references to dates, selectors, and things like that that are available within the letter writer itself or the letter template itself. We also want to bring the idea of text expanders into letters. So currently, macros are only available in the consultation workflow within Gentu, so they'll be available within the letter writer. We have just recently released the ability to email letters directly to patients. So they are password protected, those letters that get sent directly to patients. And then last but not least, we know that lots of practices want to be able to attach documents into letters that are sent electronically. So these could be letters that are sent back to the referring doctor where you want to add in a pathology result or something like that. And so we will be enabling the ability to send those letters out via secure messaging, so HealthLink, Argus, medical objects, and so on, and attach documents into that at the same time. So then the next thing on our roadmap is going to be releasing the mobile app for all Gentu practitioners. As I mentioned, several hundred people using it now, but we want it to be available to all practitioners. When we release initially in the coming months, that will be read-only, I guess, is probably the easiest way to describe it, where you'll be able to see your patient appointments, see the patient's clinical information and so on, but not take actions. But then the intention is that you'll be able to take actions. And some of the actions that we're starting with is being able to add a consultation note, being able to create a to-do or a task from the mobile app, and being able to upload and annotate images from the mobile app to your to Gentu itself. Alongside this, we are going to be working on the incoming document workflows in Gentu. Right now, if you want to add a document to a patient file, you need to do it on a per patient basis. So we want to change that so that there is like a centralized location, very similar to the process folder in Genie, a centralized location where all of the documents come into, where they can be triaged to be reviewed by a practitioner, or just again filed away in the patient's records. We're also going to be making some improvements to the clinical area. This is going to start off with improvements to how the screen is laid out, how you find information, but it's also then going to include actions that you take pre and post consultation. A particular area of focus for us is going to be procedures. And so that is going to be generally across the procedure workflow, but specifically it will include procedure templates, or the concept of procedure templates from Genie, because we know that that really drives a lot of efficiency in documenting the notes that are associated with the procedure. And then last but not least, from a Gentu perspective, we are in the final, or we are in some early stages of testing some new functionality with a couple of industry partners. Specifically, this is the concepts of e-orders and e-bookings. So e-orders is a digital pathology order that we are working on with Sonic Healthcare. This is Sullivan and Nicolaides, Douglas Hanley Moyer, or Clinipath, depending upon what Melbourne pathology, depending upon what state that you're located in. The first set of customers are going to be using that shortly in Queensland, and then our intention is that that will roll out nationally, so that will enable you to send pathology orders electronically. In May, we also had a pilot for our first e-booking solution. Here we have partnered with a really large private hospital provider, a national private hospital provider, to take the procedure booking information from the back of Genie and Gentu and share that directly with the bookings team in the hospital. So this is really reducing the number of draft lists that practices need to send all the time, and just reducing the time and investment, creating some efficiency in that bookings workflow. As I mentioned at the start, we are very conscious that practices are using, a number of products in their practice that are not currently integrated with the practice management system, with Genie or Gentu. And so we are underway with the foundations for the Genie Solutions Marketplace, which will enable you to connect up or share information from these third-party products with Gentu in the future. So these could be bookings products, transcription products, patient engagement tools, telehealth, any of those type products. So as you can see, lots happening to build on Gentu capability and really accelerate its readiness for Genie practices when they choose to migrate. As Michele mentioned, we are conscious that new feature development has been slow recently, but we're really looking forward to, with this acceleration, to be able to provide you with ongoing updates on Gentu's progress. Now, so with many of you on the call, I'm sure are existing Genie users. So while we are investing more than ever in Gentu, we will continue to invest in Genie and add new functionality and respond to the feedback that we're receiving in Genie in the same way that we are with Gentu. If we take a look at the feedback for Genie, what we see is that the top area of concerns are consulting with patients, specifically around e-prescribing and ordering diagnostic tests. But we've also received lots of feedback about patient forms, and a significant number of requests for improvements to the SMS templates. And so if we take a look at the roadmap for Genie, again, I hope you'll see how this feedback has influenced what's on the roadmap. Recently for Genie, our focus has been on 64-bit and then the initial release of e-prescribing. In April this year, we also released a product called Insights. Right now, we've been focused on e-prescribing improvements, bringing native word capability back as part of version 10, which is the 64-bit version of Genie. And then we will be developing further improvements to consultation workflows, in particular, real-time prescription monitoring, which the team is working on right now. So I'll talk again about a little bit about each of those in more detail. I'll start with Insights. It's a product that we've developed with Cubico. It's a practice intelligence platform, which I guess enables practices to analyze their appointment and financial data to help them better understand where your referrals are coming from and just generally how the practice is performing. We have quite a number of Genie practices using this now, and their feedback is that Insights saves them hours each week on reporting, and has really helped identify where there are opportunities for both process and business performance improvements. Genie version 10 is the 64-bit version of Genie. We launched this last year, and since then, almost 40% of practices now that is slightly out of date. It's up to 39 as of this week, but have upgraded to version 10. Since that upgrade, a very small number of practices have experienced some performance issues. So our focus in the last couple of months have really been on getting to the next release of version 10, which is 10.2.2, which contains some improvements for these performance issues, but also brings back native word capability, which wasn't available in the earlier releases of version 10. So that allows you to view Word documents within Genie, but also import and export Word documents from Genie as well. Since the launch of e-prescribing, we're seeing practices prescribe in excess of over 40,000 prescriptions each month, which is just amazing to see how much value that's delivering for practices and for patients. We have, however, received quite a bit of feedback on e-prescribing, and that's specifically been around wanting to have more flexibility in the being able to modify quantities, repeats, or the authority, sorry, the word was escaping me there for a minute, or the authority status of a medicine. So we've actually actioned a lot of that feedback, and that feedback will be available in 10.2.2 as well, which is that next release of version 10. So that release of version 10 is available at the moment to a small cohort of practices, but we will be planning on a much more general release in the very near future. Following the release of 10.2.2, our attention has really turned to real-time prescription monitoring. So currently we know practices are using products that are external to Genie, such as SafeScript, to be able to understand or monitor the use of controlled medicine and then prescribed controlled medicines for patients. So these next set of improvements, which the team are working on right now, will actually bring those alerts, which you see on the screen on the right-hand side, into the prescription workflow. So it'll be, brought in when you actually search for a medicine and go to prescribe that medicine within Genie. So that will make a big difference to prescription safety. Your feedback, as I said, also highlighted that you wanted to see improvements to how you communicate with patients, and this was primarily centered around SMS. So we're therefore going to build on the existing capability within Genie, the SMS capability within Genie. And this is going to enable practices to send appointment reminders per appointment type. So you might want to send a different reminder for a new patient than a review patient, or it'll also allow you to send multiple reminders for one appointment. So if you wanted to remind patients 7 days prior and then again 24 hours prior, that will be available in the near future. And then last but not least, in patient communications, we are going to provide the ability to have a dedicated phone number per practice. So that means that patients, when they receive an SMS from their practice, they receive it from the same phone number each time. Given the volume of spam messages that are out there today, we do realize that this will give the patients the confidence that the communications that they're receiving are actually coming from your practice. In the second half of the year, we will be enabling online eligibility checking in Genie. I know this is probably a big one for many general surgery practices. We're conscious that practice staff do spend sometimes hours on the phone understanding what is the level of cover a patient has with their private health insurance, or a patient actually goes into theatre, has the procedure, and then you find out afterwards that the patient wasn't actually covered with their health insurance. So it's going to be really great. This is actually our second most highly requested feature from a voice of customer perspective. So we're really looking forward to bringing that online eligibility checking into the workflow within Genie. And then for Genie, similar to Gentu, we will be bringing the new workflows for e-orders and e-bookings over the coming months. These features are going to be available, though, as part of 10.2.2 and up only. So if you're not currently using version 10, we really do encourage you to start having a conversation with your IT person about upgrading these features or products in particular. They're all going to be included as part of your base subscription, so there's no additional cost to them, but you do need to be on the latest version to be able to get access to them. So look, thank you all for your feedback. It really is incredibly valuable to us to understand what's important to do to you. And I hope that you see that it really does influence what we're doing on our roadmap for the coming months. I'm going to hand over to Sean now, who's going to talk to you about some tips and tricks for general surgeons in both Genie and Gentu.
Thank you, Niamh. For those who have yet to meet me, my name is Sean Nolan, and I'm the Customer Education Specialist here at Genie Solutions. I have over 10 years experience in training customers in both Genie and Gentu. And what I wanted to do today was impart some knowledge and tips and tricks that I have found useful for practices who are in general surgery. I will start today with Genie. So the first tool that I like to impart for general surgeons are called procedure templates. The idea behind a procedure template is when you commonly do a procedure, it can automatically bring in the procedure name, item numbers, notes, and a few other fields, meaning there is less data entry if you have to do the same procedure. So to create a procedure template, we first need to create a brand new procedure. We type in the name of the procedure. And once we've typed in the name of the procedure, we can click Add to Menu, which will add it to this list of procedure names permanently. The nice thing about adding to menu is if I now open up an existing procedure, and if I just have my procedure name empty, any procedure in the future, I can choose the name of the procedure, and that's available as a quick shortcut for you. The next part of procedure templates I like to show is if when you're doing a procedure, you're typing in the same things every single time. So for instance, you might be typing in the same pre-op and post-operation diagnoses. You might be using the same indication, possibly the same pre-op notes. So in this instance, I'm going to type in first on list for this particular procedure. Next, I'm going to add in an item number because I commonly do this item number with this procedure. And if I go to my op notes, you can see I've got some op notes here already pre-filled. Now I'm going to click Save Template and give this procedure template a name. Let me show you next how procedure templates actually work for brand new procedures. So I'm going to be booking in a patient for a procedure for the time that we have listed here. If I go to my procedure window and I click on the Load Template button, this is all my procedure templates. If I choose the one I've just had before, you can see my pre-operation notes have already pre-filled. My quotes have, with the item numbers are there, along with the findings technique and post-op. So if you commonly do a certain procedure and it's always got the same name, maybe the same pre-op notes, the same item number and the same findings technique and post-op, I strongly recommend putting that as a procedure template for future use. A question I commonly get asked is, what happens if I do the same procedure, but there might be one word or one measurement that I might be changing in the Op Notes tab? My recommendation in that situation is to put your procedure template as what is 99% the same time, each time. And when you actually come in to use the procedure template for that one particular patient, just change that one word. So strongly recommend using procedure templates if you're not already using them. The next tool I'm going to be showing you is what we call custom forms. This is a tool that's built into Genie, and it's designed to reduce the need to handwrite any paper-based forms. Commonly for general surgery, this might be hospital admission and consent forms, but it is any form that you might be filling out by hand or PDF on the computer. You could upload this into Genie, and this will save you a significant amount of time. I'm going to show you how you can download different forms from our servers. If there's a form that is a PDF that you use that's not on our servers, I recommend you look at our knowledge base, as it does detail how you can upload your own form. So to upload a procedure, a custom form, what we do is we click on the special menu at the top and we choose software updates. From here, if I go to forms, these are the different forms that we have available, split by categories. So I've got a lot of hospital admission forms in this list. If I choose my consent, you can see that there's various consent forms I've got available. I'm going to download the Green Slopes consent form for today's demonstration. If I choose import and save, that saves it into the Genie database ready for future use. There's other categories that you can use and look at. I strongly recommend looking at these in your own time. Now, if you want to use a custom form, we open up the merged letters, the gold pages for a patient, and here you can see Green Slopes consent form. When I open this form, you can see that the hospital form is filled out and patient demographic and procedure information is already pre-filled there, meaning all that you have to do is print out this form and give it to the patient. The question I commonly get asked is what happens if I want to keep a copy of this form in Genie, the fact that I've printed it out? I recommend ticking Save Copy in Clinical Record if you are that type of practice, because that means that when this is printed, it will also save a copy in the clinical file of Genie, allowing you to refer to it at any point should you need to. Now, in my experience, general surgeons often prescribe only a few medications. There's a tool in Genie called Quick Scripts. And the idea behind Quick Scripts is it's for your most commonly prescribed medications that you can save them as a favorites list, meaning that when you do need to prescribe them, it saves you a significant amount of time. So Quick Scripts are available in the Quick Script drop-down menu of the patient's clinical file. And here I've got a sample list of 2 favorites already. If you want to add something to this Quick Scripts list, we click the plus button. Next, we search for what is the quick script that we wish to add. So for instance, I'm going to be searching for fluconazole here. I double click on which variant of fluconazole I wish to prescribe and add to my favorites. And I put in my dose, my frequency, and my instructions. Next, I click Add to Quick Script. There's no alert or prompt that appears. This is normal. If I cancel out of this window, and if I click my Quick Script drop-down menu next, you can see that fluconazole has been added to this list. To prescribe it, it's just a matter of clicking the Quick Script, and it will then appear in your medications list, ready to be printed out or e-prescribed. What happens if you want to delete a Quick Script from your list? To delete a Quick Script, we first click the menu. Next, we hold down the Option key if you're on a Mac computer or the Alt key if you're on a Windows computer. Whilst you're holding down that key, you click on the one you wish to delete, let go of the key afterwards. If I have a look at my Quick Script drop-down menu, you can see that's been removed. So any medications you do that on a frequent basis, I recommend adding them to the Quick Script. If you've got a medication that might have 2 different instructions, you could possibly add 2 variants into this Quick Script list, again, to save you time. So next, I will show functions and features in our Gentu product. The first thing I'm going to be doing as part of Gentu is you can take a photo in Gentu using your mobile phone. The advantage of this is the photo does not belong on your phone and it gets uploaded directly into Gentu. So to do this, the first thing that we do is we open the web browser from our phone and log into Gentu. And we go to the appointment diary next. We select the patient we wish to take a photo for, and then choose Add at the top, Attachment. We can click on Choose File. Next, we choose Take Photo or Video. We're going to take a photo because this activates the camera on our phone. We choose Use Photo next. We can give this a name. So for instance, I'm going to call this one a lesion. Then we change our category. So in this instance, I'm going to be choosing a procedure. The nice thing then is that this photo, when it's uploaded into Gentu, it belongs next to the procedure note. You will see it there alongside. The nice thing, the photo does not belong on your phone, so it's a really great and versatile tool if you ever need to take a photo of anything in Gentu. Then, just like when you take a photo on your phone and you can assign a category, in Gentu, when you add an attachment using the Add menu, you can also assign a category here. This means the category will appear in the relevant tab of the patient's clinical file. So first thing that we do is we click the Add menu at the top and choose Attachment. Next, we click Choose File. And this looks on our computer for the files we wish to upload. So if I choose these two files here and choose Open, I can rename the file if I need to. So for instance, I'm going to call this a letter from the doctor. Next, we can assign the category using the drop-down on the right-hand side. Attachment comes with a paperclip icon. Consult note will appear alongside any typed consultation notes. Diagnostic report will appear alongside any electronic pathology and radiology results. Correspondence means it will appear alongside letters in and out. Procedure means it will appear next to your procedures. And if you do pregnancy records, it'll appear in pregnancy record tab. I'm going to choose correspondence. The second document, I'm going to rename, call it an ultrasound. And I'm going to assign my category as being a diagnostic report. I choose Upload. So you can see that our letter appears with a page icon. That means correspondence. And if I go to my diagnostic report, you can see that my picture file belongs alongside a pathology radiology result. An existing document, if you wish to recategorize it, the three dots and Edit means you could change the name if you need to, or change the category to go into a different tab. So in this instance, I'm going to change this to be an attachment. I click the tick. And what that means now in the paperclip, you can see there's my paperclip with the ultrasound. So anything you've already got in Gentu, you can recategorize and put it into the right tab to make it easier for you to see should you need to. The next function I'd like to show is what we call billing sets. It is a function in Gentu that's designed to group one or more item numbers under a label. The advantage of this is if a procedure has multiple items, or if a procedure is easier referenced by a name rather than item number, it means it is easier to use in different parts of the program. The billing sets are available in the procedure window, the quotes, and the invoicing screens. So to create a to create a billing set, we first go to our settings page. Next, we choose billing sets. Existing billing sets I have are shown here in the list. If I click on a billing set, you can see that this procedure name has two item numbers already associated with it. If I want to create a new billing set, I click Create New, and I give this a label. So for instance, I'm going to say that this is to do with a knee arthroscopy. I type in any eligible items. I do one at a time. And I would then click Save, and that saves it to the billing set list. Next, I'm going to show you how you can use billing sets. When you're in the invoicing window, if I choose Add an Invoice, there's a search function on the right-hand side to search for billing sets. So for instance, I'm going to type in microdisc, and you can see the two item numbers populate. Next, if I show you from the next part of Gentu, which is going to be the quotation window, I can use the search for billing set here again. The last part of Gentu where the billing sets is available is from our procedure window. It's down at the bottom right over here. So you can see that billing sets are useful for where you have multiple item numbers for one surgery, or if it's easier to reference a surgery by a name or label rather than item numbers. So last part of my section for today is, as some of you may already know, in addition to the core offerings of Genie or Gentu, there are optional additions that some practices use to help get tasks done more effectively and efficiently. By partnering with select companies who provide these products, we can integrate them into Genie or Gentu and provide even better solutions that connect directly into practices' workflows. If you have any interest in any of these products, please get in touch with my sales team and they'd be more than happy to discuss these with you further. I will now hand back to Michele to conclude today's presentation.
Thanks, Sean. Hope everyone picked up a few tips and tricks there that you can implement in your practice. And thank you for those of you putting questions in the chat, and we've been able to answer them all live. So, but feel free to add any more questions in there. You heard about voice, our voice product in Gentu, and I'm sure you're all familiar with DMO or Dragon Medical One or Dragon. You may even use it. But in order for you to be able to experience these services and these products, we've been able to negotiate with Nuance. So the technology is from Nuance, and we've just built the integration into the voice app. It is still standalone from a Genie perspective. We can make available to you a 30-day free trial. So normally this is not available through any Dragon vendors, and Nuance don't normally do that, but we've got a great relationship and partnership with them. So we're really pleased to be able to offer this to you. So an email will come out after this webinar, and if you're interested in taking that up, either Dragon or the integrated voice product for Gentu, there'll be some information on how to go about doing that, contacting sales, and we can get you set up for no obligation, 30-day free trial of either of those products. So this is just one way that we want to help provide information to you in the form of a specialty specific webinar. This is the first range of this series that we've done. So as I said, we really will appreciate your feedback at the end of this webinar. But we do now have lunch and learns. Hopefully you're aware of those. They do get promoted out through our newsletter. The next one's coming up for Genie is managing Eclipse and Medicare. And that is actually tomorrow. And then Gentu in a few weeks' time around improving your prescription experience. So how to get the most out of the prescription modules in Gentu. Those lunch and learns are always recorded. So please do register even if you can't attend, and then the recording will be sent out later so you can reference those. We still do have in-group training that obviously paused for a while through COVID, but they are back by popular demand. The next one is in August, and that's Genie billing and quotes. Always a very, very popular topic because it's I know all the challenges, particularly with Medicare, that the practices have. So that's a great course to go to help you through that. They're available in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. We don't have group training for Gentu at this point in time, but we are gauging the demand for that, and that might be something that we start to implement. So please look out for those in your newsletter. Getting in touch with us. I'm sure you're all familiar with the 1300 number to connect with support, but we're also wanting to make sure that there's other options of ways that you can get help from us. So I'm sure you're familiar with the knowledge base, and we're constantly updating the content in the knowledge base. We have 2 dedicated staff that's their full-time job, is to continue to add content there, not just in a written version, but also in some video format as well, to help you continue to learn or solve any problems that you might have. You can always submit a ticket through to support and email. If it's non-urgent, that's a really great way to do it, and you'll get your answer back via email. But also recently we've introduced live chat, which is proving incredibly popular. So this is live chat with a human, not a bot. And so it's not 24/7, but it is in support hours. And it's really helpful for, you've got your practice full or your reception full. You need to ask support a quick question, and you can get that answered really quickly via the live chat. So we do still have a big support staff here in our Brisbane office, and they're supporting from 7:30 till 7, or a little bit shorter for 6 for Gentu, and that's Brisbane time.